Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, cherished friends, it is both an honor and solemn privilege to extend a heartfelt welcome to each of you as we gather for this inaugural Professor John Ntambirweki Memorial Lecture on this significant 12th day of February 2024. Today we stand united in remembrance and celebration, commemorating the enduring legacy of a remarkable individual. It has been precisely 10 months since we bid farewell to my brother, my confidant, and our esteemed compatriot, Professor John Ntambirweki. It is always an esteemed privilege to visit Uganda and travel to the wonderful tourism city, Fort Portal. Due to unforeseen circumstances, with my parliamentary schedules, I'm unable to join you this morning. Equally, it is a profound honor to deliver the keynote address on a matter of paramount significance, titled Enhancing Equity and Access to Higher Education, Addressing Disparities and Striving for Inclusion. In honoring his memory, we not only pay tribute to his exceptional contribution, but also celebrate the profound impact he left on our lives and within our academic and societal spheres. As we embark on this solemn yet inspiring journey of remembrance and reflection, let us carry forward the spirit of his intellectual curiosity, his unwavering dedication to excellency, and his profound commitment to advancing knowledge and fostering positive change. May this inaugural lecture serve as a beacon of remembrance, enlightenment, and inspiration as we honor the life and legacy of Professor John Ntambirweki. Welcome, one and all, to this momentous occasion. Allow me to tell you about the John Ntambirweki I knew, a figure whose impact resonates deeply with our hearts and minds. Who was this remarkable individual, and what was the essence of the man I had the privilege to know? Professor John Ntambirweki was a beacon of intellect, compassion, and vision. He was not merely a colleague or an acquaintance. He was a cherished friend, a mentor, and a guiding light. In our shared journey, I witnessed firsthand his unwavering commitment to excellency, his insatiable thirst for knowledge, and his boundless generosity of spirit. He was a scholar of profound depth, whose insights transcended the confines of academia, enriching the lives of all who had the privilege to engage with him. But beyond his scholarly achievements, Professor John Ntambirweki was a man of integrity and kindness, whose presence illuminated every room he entered. To know Professor John Ntambirweki was to be touched by his wisdom, inspired by his passion, and uplifted by his unwavering belief in the power of education to transform lives. He was a man of many facets, a teacher, a mentor, a friend, but above all, he was a beacon of light whose legacy will continue to illuminate our path long after he has departed from this world. Needless to say, education plays a critical role in eradicating poverty and steering the vision for prosperous and sustainable development for any country. Education saves lives, improves health, and fosters shared understanding and values. As access and quality in higher education systems worldwide continue to improve, the important policy objective of equity and inclusion has become a central focus. This calls for fresh perspectives and proactive measures to shape the future transformation of higher education. I applaud the courageous decision my brother and friend, the late Professor John Ntambirweki, in building the Uganda Pentecostal University, UPU, based in Fort Portal City in Western Uganda, offering courses in various disciplines. From the report I used to receive from my brother and friend, UPU has transformed the lives of many students from the underprivileged backgrounds through the university bursary scheme in Western Uganda especially. I would like us all to always appreciate him for his visionary leadership and commitment, and to assure that all people from any background can attain an education. Indeed, education is an equalizer of such young people who had no or little hope of accessing higher learning. To understand the need to provide equity and access to higher education, the 2018 World Development Report and the 2016 Global Education Monitoring Report by UNESCO 2016 have made it clear education is also a foundation block for nearly every other sustainable development goal, SDG. SDG 4 advocates for equal access by all gender to all forms of higher education and the elimination of disparities to ensure equal access to all levels of education and vocational training for the vulnerable, including persons with disabilities, vulnerable people, and children in resource-poor situations. SDG 4, therefore, aims at ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. The Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications Concerning Higher Education was adopted at the 40th session of the UNESCO General Conference in November 2019 in order to facilitate academic mobility between countries and regions. It is the first legally binding United Nations treaty on higher education with a global scope. Now let us look at challenges that limit equity and access to education. The socio-economic status of students influence their participation in higher education, as well as in vocational and technical education. Family income is another factor in identifying disadvantaged students, as individuals from low-income households often face obstacles in pursuing higher education. This challenge is particularly amplified in countries with high tuition fees and limited financial support, including publicly funded scholarships and government-backed student loans programs. Higher tuition fees challenge equity and inclusion, potentially restricting the participation of students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Students from low socioeconomic backgrounds, migrant backgrounds, and students with chronic illness or disabilities, refugees, are largely underrepresented in higher education. Gender imbalances continue to exist, particularly in some disciplines. Moreover, students from some underrepresented groups are more likely to discontinue their studies and leave higher education without a degree. With regard to education in Uganda, a country where the Uganda Pentecostal University is situated, female literacy rates continue to lag behind at 66.89% compared to 80.85% of males, and the gender gaps widen at secondary and tertiary education. This is according to a report of 2023. Having low literacy rates is one of the drivers of discrimination and marginalization of women in Uganda, since they cannot equitably access service delivery programs and intervention. Now, what should be done to enhance equity and access to higher education? One is fostering equity, and inclusion involves ensuring fair representation of students from diverse backgrounds in higher education, covering a spectrum of socio-economic, ethnic, gender, physical, and mental characteristics. As a result, it is imperative for countries to establish tailored frameworks for identifying and categorizing disadvantaged students within their respective societies. In countries with diverse ethnicities, ensuring the access of ethnic minority students to higher education is paramount. Similarly, in countries with varying religious affiliations, equitable access to higher education opportunities should be extended to students from religious minority groups. There is a need for affirmative action in many countries to ensure equitable access to higher education. Top institutions must prioritize including students from diverse backgrounds, particularly those facing disadvantages, as part of their social responsibilities. This requires policies to facilitate the recruitment of students from humble backgrounds, either through merit-based or quota-based admissions processes. Balancing merit-based and quota-based mechanisms in the recruitment of students is essential to guarantee more significant equity and inclusion. As I conclude my lecture, now let me turn to recommendations to higher education institutions. 1. Integrate the goals of equitable access and successful participation for all learners into the institutional mission and develop specific objectives and strategies for achieving them. 2. Work in partnership with government representatives of other education sectors, civil society, professional associations, and employers in order to address issues of access and successful participation in a holistic manner, taking into consideration the outcomes of secondary level schooling, labor market trends, and the national development needs. 3. Call for and participate in multi-stakeholder dialogue with government and all competent bodies to develop policies and ensure adequate financial support for the pursuit of the access and success agenda. And 4, develop or strengthen admission policies and practices that emphasize the potential of each applicant and address equity of access and successful participation by offering a variety of flexible learning pathways for entry and exit. The following are my recommendations to governments. Governments at all levels have an essential role in promoting and enabling access to high-quality higher education for all members of society. In consultation with all stakeholder groups, articulate an integrated educational, social, and economic agenda to promote equitable access, broadened participation, and success in higher education. Also demonstrate a commitment to equitable access and success by providing adequate funding, using models that are sensitive to and appropriate for local conditions and that support higher education institutions and students with financial needs. Create a conducive policy environment that results to increase the public and the private sector funding in support of equitable access of potential and enrolled learners with financial need. And finally, initiate targeted policies and programs to eliminate academic and other non-financial barriers to access and successful participation in higher education. As I conclude, let me encourage each of you to continue this conversation with our esteemed panelists as they continue to offer unique perspectives and insights that will further enrich our understanding and guide our actions moving forward. Together, let us embrace the journey towards a brighter tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening to my inaugural lecture in honor of Professor John Ntambirweki. Mwibale nyo, mwibale mulonga.